Welcome to Hacking Business Technology, the advertising edition. One was sponsored by Maryville Technologies. This is my cold coffee for the day. Anybody else got some swag they want to wave around? I had a ServiceNow mug, but I think it broke.
Yeah, am I gonna show my ISM koozie?
I'm in vacation mode.
It'd be better if it were a golf bag. You have to have something related to your clinic of some kind or your education portion. Emory University.
Yes, it's under my clothes though, so sorry. I also have a bag.
No.
Is the bag labeled or is it just a bag though?
It's not a colostomy bag, but it would probably say Emory on it if it was.
The Emory Sports Cup.
So a couple of our co-hosts had a breakfast this week, and during this infamous meeting, discussed that maybe we should actually hack some business processes or business technology in one way, shape, or form, and give people actionable advice to go around IT and circumvent IT or forego IT, I guess.
Advice is good.
I wouldn't say, Mark, that it was that we were talking about, going around IT. I think we were pretty much taking on saying eliminating IT as a department.
Yeah.
Mm.
Why do I need an IT department? I mean, do you really, really need it to run a business?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talk about shadow IT being a bad thing and how to control it, but I would love to see IT be the driver for shadow IT if that means something.
Oh, it's the perfect department name. We're Shadow IT. It actually sounds cool.
Yeah, just call it SHIT for short.
That's brilliant.
So we were talking in the fact that, so I just hired recently a marketing associate, and she's more technical than a lot of the engineers in some ways that are on staff here. Now, she's not maybe a programmer or a coder, right? She's not technical in that sense, but she totally gets how to put videos and content together and metrics and linking things and using Bitly to shorten URLs and placing those embed codes in places to do what? To facilitate an outcome, right? So we can listen to the voice of our customers and see if our content's relevant and see how things are being placed and where our distribution channels are. So it's understanding technology for a business purpose as opposed to just knowing how to create infrastructure or provide the underpinnings of an infrastructure.
Right, and then the beauty is that she knows marketing really well, so she can apply technical expertise to the field because she knows it so well, as opposed to IT, whether they actually learn marketing or not to fulfill her needs. I mean, that some people may do it, some might not. It's a group of people as opposed to outside in.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were talking about this methodology that I created in marketing called ARRIVE, right? It stands for Awareness, Recognition, Reaction, Incentive, Voice, and Engagement. Each one of these life cycles, somewhat like ITIL, have a different purpose and a different establishment. But at each of these life cycles, I started to think that there really is no reason for me to need IT at any one of these life cycles. So for instance, my awareness life cycle, it's all about creating opportunities for customers to find you. So if you're going to use technology to be found today, do you need IT? Well, not to create your Twitter account, not to create your Facebook account, not to create your website, not to create your email campaign list, right? And then your recognition strategy, your SEO, your SEM, most IT people really don't understand what that means or why it matters. Like, having people favorite and retweet your Twitter handle, they think that, well, that doesn't mean anything. But it actually does in marketing. It gives you higher rankings and better value. So, where does IT fall in my strategy as a chief marketing officer? Technology falls high, but IT does not, only gets in my way.
Yeah, especially since they're probably blocking Twitter, don't want you using MailChimp for corporate purposes.
Yeah.
They don't know what Bitly's using. I mean, how are they making money off of this? We don't even know how. It's free. So we can't trust it. So how do you fight those discussions? How do you actually have a discussion that says, I'm going to use this? Do you need leadership to get on board with that first, or is that something that you can just do and ask for, apologize later?
Well, if we're really talking about how to reshape or really truly go back to that word of transform IT, one, I think we need to redefine the term enable, right? And IT is an enabler, because I don't think we get it still. IT thinks of itself as an entity, not an enabler, and I think that is one big barrier. And we've talked a little bit about it with regards to the role of leadership, and even that if we're talking about waves of change and how we organize ourselves, then there has to be some spark or a seed that starts from leadership, whether it's to redefine that role of a CIO and transform it into a different title, different goal. And I think we're starting to see that in organizations. I was reading an article online, and my internet is not working on the other computer here right now, so I'm having some IT issues. But
IT, they can help.
yeah.
Marketing can help.
It was a good article, so Matt, I'll forward you the link so we can post it later on. And it was talking about how they're not calling the new CIO is not a CIO.
No.
He's sitting at the board. He is now looking at technology enablement and how it can move into the enterprise. They're not even talking about IT as its own organization.
Okay, but so I think it's important. We've been talking about transforming IT for a long time, but I think it's important to realize that perhaps it's not that important to transform IT. I mean, it's going to happen regardless, right? Something is going to take this position of enabling through technology the business, through marketing and all that stuff. So whether it's IT or not is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The thing is it's going to be a shift of skill set. So. Yeah. Does your everyday operational engineer have the ability to think systems, to use systems thinking, to be an enterprise architect? That still plays a role in this, right? Like if for instance, let's say in Matt's scenario where, Hooper's scenario where he started up a newsletter campaign, opened a Twitter account, and whatever. Let's say they didn't understand Bitly. Like you need to be able to fill in those gaps for that marketing professional to fully understand like their outcomes. What are they trying to get out of it? Are they trying to get 30,000 clicks or 10,000 follows or?
But I think my point is some organizations will have IT become that for them, and IT will transform in that way. Other organizations will just gradually outsource all of IT and then hire their own technology people to help them within the business.
So it's fit for purpose again.
Yeah, I'll give you a perfect example. So we were talking about our digital asset management strategy today, right? Which, for most IT people, this is about file share. So we were talking digital asset management strategy. And I actually had a file structure on Google Drive up as an example of what elements are and artifacts are and case studies and, and competency guides and all these kind of things. And there was someone member of the team was saying, well, where is this today? I'm like, well, it's on the screen. And they're like, no, where? It looks like it's on Google Drive. We use SharePoint. And I just went to my marketing team. I said, when the folks here at ISM are doing process consulting and they lay out a great strategy, and there's that one person who just, it's the gears are smoking in their head. I said, that's what. You'll never experience that in marketing because you don't go out on client visits. But that's the face that you'll see.
Yeah.
So IT, they're going to shift, or they're going to become irrelevant and replaced. And that's what we have to be cognizant of,
Well, it's that the infamous quote, right? So change is inevitable, but growth is optional.
Right.
So if we want to stay relevant, how are we going to grow? And how are we going to stay relevant? And it's a shift in skill set. It's a shift in mindset. It's a shift in culture. And part of that culture, I mean attitudes and behaviors. Attitudes towards IT, attitudes towards control, because this control mentality is what's gotten to us in the big mess that we're in.
Dude, I love the way you said control, though. You're like, and control? You have a problem with control? But it's so true. If the customer's demands are flexible and always changing and always, everything's flexing all the time in technology because technology is a core business, then the company needs to be flexible, ergo the organizational structure and culture needs to be flexible, ergo the people need to be flexible, ergo your systems need to be flexible.
Yeah.
All right, that's the end of the podcast. No, I'm kidding.
But they need to be focused, though, at the same time, right? Systems that have complete flexibility but aren't focused on a specific, structure, they will get unyieldy very quickly. You will amount technical debt. Marketers experience technical debt all the time. What's interesting about marketers when they experience technical debt, what do? They rebrand.
Yeah.
And everything that they had has now become antiquated and irrelevant, and now they get funding to do it all over again from scratch because they don't have to fix their technical debt. And IT doesn't have that privilege.
That's awesome. I love that analogy.
That's fantastic.
Why can't IT do that? I mean, don't you think we're more in a position to do that now than we've ever been before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to governance.
Right? Isn't that the rebranding of IT is, we're transforming, we're going to cloud now. What's that mean? Well, we're gonna virtualize our file servers.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is if you're going to do that, you need to increase the amount of effectiveness and time that you spend on governance and enterprise architecture. To just switch to cloud providers and not have, like you said, avoiding technical debt, or data bankruptcy, as I call it. I mean, in an ITSM project, we see it all the time. Well, we switch tools, BMC to ServiceNow, or ServiceNow to CA, or whatever, and they just cut the head off. Like, there's all of our information down the drain forever and ever.
Yeah. And they keep the same taxonomy. They keep the same CTI structure. They keep the same.
Please don't say that. Whoa.
It's like, are you kidding me? Do we actually really still have that? And there's still no knowledge.
Well, I mean, I think it applies just as much as we're sick of the CTI structure in IT service management tool sets. I think the same concept applies. As consultants, we always talk about the process and the people kind of shaping what your organization as opposed to worrying just about the tool. But I think that mentality exists from an IT organizational perspective as well. Why are we still suffering from the same stuff we're suffering from is because no one's talking about policy driving, the tools and the way that we manage our data. They're worried about the tool, its security, and its compatibility, and where it is and where it's hosted. If I create strong policy and process and educate and and create awareness, as you said, right, with my people to say, hey, use what you think. Let's talk about tools that are effective for you. Here's the guidelines within which we want you to operate. Now you go choose. I mean, there's that aspect of it as well.
Okay, so you guys truly believe then that governance can allow you to be more flexible so that IT can rebrand itself in a meaningful way? You both said that. That seems to be hardly ever really true.
I don't think. No, I'm saying that it needs to be. It still needs to be flexible, but it still needs to exist. And I'm not talking about governance in the form of the traditional sense. I have to approve this change. CAB board, for example. But I'm saying governance from a portfolio perspective.
Exactly.
Where should we be reaching as an organization? What are our overarching goals? And how do we get there? Enterprise architecture needs to do the puzzle work, but governance just a guy.
So it's actually having a strategy that means something.
Yes, at every level of the organization, and then when you get to this point, the beauty of it is your ITSM stuff should be automated.
Okay, so to me that's almost the opposite of governance from the way people talk about it. It's purposeful decision making. In a strategic way. I mean, it is good. Yeah.
I'm taking a definition from Gartner.
On
that one. And only that one.
But and I truly believe in I'm very passionate about that portfolio management concept, but I think one of the challenges organizations, face is that there's, whether it's a notion or an assumptions in place that having strong portfolio management means I'm consolidating services and tools, and I don't necessarily believe that that's the case. And I think that mentality is what makes IT become less of an enabler.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a place for where duplicity is, warranted, but I feel like portfolio management becomes more of a consolidate and, rather than listen and understand outcomes and doing an outcome-based portfolio.
That's interesting. Yeah. We've done a lot of consolidation over the last 20 years, in IT. Maybe that means we're not doing enough new things.
Or the things that we were doing are now commoditized.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not constantly having new things to consolidate, then you're probably not moving fast enough.
Yeah.
Oh, we shouldn't skip over that last statement. That was fantastic. The things we were doing are commoditized. I don't think I can think of a single example of something that IT provides that isn't commoditized. Besides consulting, like internal consulting, like where we're partnering with the business, with traditional IT as we want to see it in the future.
Well, business intelligence is definitely not commoditized, right? So, data science, data enablement, that's definitely not commoditized. Interactive customer experiences are definitely not commoditized. So increasing the way that you build feedback loops into your customers and create social interactions.
But is that in IT now? I mean, I would argue that one's already gone.
I'm sorry, that was marketing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. You went back to your. You're staying focused by distracting me.
No, but it depends on what organization. In some organizations, IT gets it. They are that way, right? They recognize there's a certain layer of infrastructure that needs to be provided that we're going to drive the really hip cars down, and then we're going to pimp those cars out, and, and get them all jacked out, and then we're really going to, be different.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that goes back to that topic of shifting skills, right? Becoming productivity consultants, helping our users really understand what they can do to leverage the technology they have to improve their efficiency and their effectiveness and drive the outcomes that they desire. We've talked about it before, but I feel like we've hit this thing, right? Shift your skill set. I don't need a guy who's going to be able to go reboot a switch in a closet. I need a guy who's going to be able to tell me to plug in my network cable to check if my network is.
And it goes further than just switching your skill set. We need management and leadership to get this, because the way that we do performance management in IT is shameful. How many password unlocks did you get this week?
Brutal. Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly right. I mean, it's not that I would say that we don't need those skills. At some level, we do. I just don't need to own them within my organization. And if I'm an executive and I own a business outcome, do I need to have that or justify that to be an internal department? I really don't. If I was a CFO, I can't see any reason why I would need to justify IT within my organization.
Mm-hmm.
My data center provided as a service. I need my infrastructure network provided as a service, most of my computing, and I can have business technologists, not IT people trying to learn the business, who can then facilitate the more detailed technical requirements for our technology needs. We need technology. We live and we breathe on it. But I don't know that we need to have a department singularly focused on that.
So then the hard part. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
No, I just wanted to know, I mean, how soon can we get into a specific example of the business hiring a large consulting firm to do work for them in the technology space despite their own IT department? That's when we would get interested.
Well, that happens all the time. That is the definition of what I do for a living.
So you're saying IT, you go into a business and work on things that IT does not hire you for.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Indiscriminatory work. I can work on anything that I see needs to be worked on. Yes.
No, that's what I'm interested in. That's when, Hooper, what you're talking about, that's when it would really hit the pavement, I think.
The thing is that businesses don't trust each other that much.
No.
It's very rare that you will get a large or even a medium-sized company that will say, "We love your work. We love these two consultants. Have them sit in here every day, and they can just advise like all day long." We've had that with one huge customer, and it was a fantastic relationship.
Okay, but I mean, even ServiceNow, you know, we're moving into the HR and financial space. Is there any business that's hiring consulting firms to make that happen aside from IT?
That happens all the time. I'm not going to go ServiceNow on you, but I'm going to go Workday on you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
There are HR departments around the globe hiring,
Yes.
relying Workday and hiring organizations to deploy Workday, and they tell them, do not talk to our IT.
Yeah.
Because we actually want to get this done on time and on budget.
Yes. Okay, that's absolutely true. That happens all over the place.
Yeah. Salesforce.
Salesforce, yeah.
Right? How many? I know tons of CMOs and VPs of sales who hire consulting companies who do integrated marketing solutions, and they never talk to the IT department.
Even healthcare. I mean, when you're looking at healthcare implementation of the information systems there, and all of those, a lot of those projects happen independently of IT completely.
Oh, she's Canadian projects.
Yeah. In higher ed, useless IT. And I'm just kidding.
Nice.
Well, higher ed's a strange example because there's IT everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
That's every enterprise today, right? Look at healthcare is exactly the same,
Yeah.
and most healthcare is integrated with higher ed, like Emory, anyway. So
Tech is everywhere. To assume that it can fit within one department is egotistical and narcissistic.
But you know, one of the reasons why I think that it continues to happen is because there is so much fear and uncertainty around it, and so much failure associated with it, that no one wants to completely hang their hat on it.
Yeah, they think it's too risky. They're
Even
sticking
if I
their
was
head
a
out.
even if I was a business manager who was given the role of managing IT, I'm given a lot of leeway because, well, I ran a great manufacturing department or logistics department, or I could do, you know, all kinds of supply chain management skills. They gave me a shot, and maybe it failed, and they said, well, you know, Matt, thanks anyways, we appreciate it. Thank God you were there, that'll cover us. Now we'll get somebody else in to fire next. You know, so there's never really a lot of accountability, and that's that revolving door syndrome, and that's why you have technical debt that continues to develop. Someone brings in a new strategy, new ideas, new set of processes that just overmask all the underlying issues. There's no, it's like politicians. It's completely political.
Yeah, but the culture has to change too. I mean, what's to say that these businesses won't go out, hire technical people, and then they just set up their own IT department? I mean, that's. I mean, I see that at Emory as well. HR has IT people.
That's the
Finance
risk
has
you
IT
need to manage now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. That's the new management style. Is
Wait, can you have shadow IT within shadow IT, like a dream within a dream?
There you go.
That'd be awesome. Like, so the HR department has technical people who then become kind of like an IT department separate from IT, and then they develop their own shadow IT. So there's like one guy, and he becomes an IT within an IT within an IT.
And then they become so dysfunctional that IT goes out and gets their own HR people.
Yes. Well, that happens too.
oh man, that's fantastic. I love that. This is very John Malkovich. Very, very John Malkovich. Malkovich.
Benefit of listeners.
Hooper, did we get through Arrive? We didn't get through Arrive.
I think we got through the A.
We got, you know what it is? Arrive doesn't matter. Anybody in marketing has their own methodology for it. But I would question how much do they really need IT to be part of that key strategy versus their just own technology strategy, their architecture, and their focus on those domains. You have data, you have interaction, you have engagement, you have channels. How can you put these things together from an architecture perspective to be successful? And I challenge any CMO to take a look at how much real value add IT brings to the organization. Now, some do it well, right? I just recently bought a car from a dealership, a Fitzgerald dealership. I guess I got 25 up and down the East Coast here. They flipped around this little laptop and they were walking through some different programs and everything was online and it was really interactive and it was a pretty good system. And the guy kept saying we have great IT, they always support us. They give us these systems. Okay, that's all wonderful, but what really did they bring to the table there? I'm almost positive that was a outsourced application build. So they're just now providing infrastructure. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they probably went to some other firm that does mobile development or app development and sourced it, which is fine.
Which is fine, right? Get the outcome.
Especially if your app dev people are really expensive and busy on something else. I mean, that's what it comes down to, is you need to have the financial maturity to be able to make these decisions, to source or not to source.
Well, like Mark said, you need to have the strategy to make those decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where you start. That's where you start. So it kind of brings me back. I get this flash in my head that stacks follow people. So I'm in marketing and I'm a technologist, and I come up with this stack of tools that I use to be effective. I'm not meaning to make this motion on purpose, but that then when I leave, that stack kind of crumbles or it loses strength. Or I need to be able to pass that stack on to the next person.
Even business-enabled technologists have they still have their own tool bias, right? Mm-hmm. I came here in my presentation today on digital asset management strategy. I referenced Box at least 20 times because Box is the easiest tool for me to set a taxonomy up, and it integrates well with Drupal, and I can create meta tags and import those into Drupal and do a content distribution strategy in an automated fashion. Is it a rock solid solution? No, HubSpot's probably just as good, or we could use some other tool, but that's just my bias because I've had some drive time with those tools.
And everything's so new. I mean, consumer-based APIs, IFTTT and Zapier and that kind of stuff, I mean, that's available to the business to actually integrate systems really easily, but I mean, it's like 2-3 years old.
Yeah.
Imagine where it'll be in 5 years or 10 years. Obviously, everything will change, and what IT has to provide or support will be defined differently.
Yeah. If you think you're irrelevant today, wait until tomorrow. And that is Hacking Business Technology. Thanks for being here. Glad to see all the hosts back. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.